right. Welcome to Not Suitable for Adults. I almost said welcome back to Not Suitable for Adults, but...
So you guys heard us last week.
Uh-huh.
But that was an episode we've kept in our pocket for a while.
That was, we planned to do these back to back, and we did from a recording sense, but in another more real sense, we did them a couple of months apart.
So right now, this is actually us recording for the first time in a couple months in the new year. Mm-hmm. We've had holidays, we've had family, we've had snow and ice, we've had
illnesses.
We got the vid. All three of us.
We're fine.
And we're totally fine. It's very odd to me how different it is in every person. Mm-hmm. But we don't have to go into that, but it's just, we were, thank goodness, very mild cases.
Yeah, totally.
I guess Cora probably had the highest temperature out of us, but she runs high, so. Mm-hmm.
We've always said that about her. She's a high runner.
She just runs high. So we are on the tail end of all of those things, except it's like supposed to snow again tomorrow.
Well, yeah, but like snow.
Y'all, I think you guys know we live in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
So we never know when they say it's going to snow, if that means it's just going to rain ice from the sky.
Which it does.
Or if it's going to be 6 inches of the fluffy white stuff. Uh-huh. And we just sit back and hoard our bread and milk and just see what happens. Speaking of which, we need to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
We don't have bread or milk.
Yeah, and not like from an emergency standpoint. It's just that we're out of groceries.
I've been working, but then we've also been sick. So we've been out of work and out of society for a week, and essentials are running low.
They are. Speaking of that, on Facebook, I saw this picture, and it said snowfall in Tennessee or something like that, and then oil on canvas, like it's the name of a painting. And then the painting is what looks like an oil painting of a loaf of bread, a pitcher of milk, and a roll of toilet paper.
Yes. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Also, because we are getting over the virus a little bit, I just want to make everyone aware, every now and again, I may have to turn my head and cough.
Yeah.
But not in that weird...
Not in a weird way.
Doctor
way. A normal... in a totally normal, clearing your throat, getting over a sickness kind of way.
Yeah.
Well, this is a podcast where we talk about, if you're just joining us, because we've been on a break, if you've never been here before and you're like, this seems like a brand new podcast. So we review media that's been made for mainly children, but sometimes we go into more family stuff, and that's sort of what we're in the middle of now. We're doing a two-parter on the Jumanji movies.
We started again 2 months ago. We recorded an episode about the OG Jumanji.
And we talked about the sequels, but we didn't really get into the sequels. We just kind of talked generally about them.
Right. So today we are going to talk about the 2 Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson sequels, as well as a lesser known...
A spiritual sequel.
Yes, a spiritual sequel. I like that. That people, I don't think anybody would normally say was in the Jumanji-verse, but absolutely is, like, in the Jumanji-verse. So, let's start with the sequels.
Okay, so the original Jumanji came out in like 1994, something like that.
I don't know. It's been 2 months. I don't even remember what we talked about.
The official second Jumanji movie came out in 2017. Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle.
And I was very excited about this one. I grew up with Jumanji, loved Jumanji, was really excited about the remake, and then I watched it, and I was not disappointed.
Oh, I like you sort of did like a you sort of did like a wait, was it not good? And I was not disappointed.
I mean, the thing is that if you go into it thinking it's a remake of the original, it's just not.
Right.
But it is a true it's a sequel.
Yeah.
And it is I very much enjoy this one, and I enjoy the third one. The third installment of the Jumanji movies.
Yeah.
So we start with the Jumanji game is on a beach somewhere. It has floated up on a beach. So when we last saw the Jumanji game, the little baby Robin Williams and little baby Bonnie Hunt threw it into the river.
Right.
But they had attached like stones and stuff to it, right?
Right.
So I would like to know how it got on pretty far up on a beach, next to like an ocean. Is this the same? Did we look this up? Is this the same town?
It is.
It is the same town.
It goes back. They go back to Brantford, New Hampshire, which is a made-up town in a real state.
Okay. Well, yes, we all know New Hampshire's a real state. So this takes place in the same town. Very interesting. So that little river in the middle of town that they dunked it in, how many years ago?
Like 20 or 30?
20-ish years.
20. We'll say 20.
20 years ago. 20 plus years ago. Now it has swept up on shore on the beach of New Hampshire.
Yeah.
On the beach of Brantford, New Hampshire.
At the end of, the thing is...
Did you say Brantford?
Brantford.
Brantford, okay.
At the end of... yeah, I think they take a little bit of liberty because at the end of the original Jumanji...
Did not seem like a beach town, Brantford.
No, but what happens is it doesn't just wash up on a beach. It washes up on a beach and two kids are walking towards it and they're speaking another language.
Yes.
So the idea is that like it's moved on to another place.
Yeah.
But in the plot, maybe
it's traveled around some.
Maybe. But according to the story on Wikipedia, it's 1996. So it's just 2 years later.
Are you sure 94 was the original?
I think so.
Let's double check that real fast so that we know.
Let's double check it.
So it's 1996. So we're kind of like back in time at the beginning of this movie. It's 1996. A man is running on the beach. He finds the game in the beach and decides to take it home. We never see this man. Really.
Never.
Except for his old person character later.
1995.
Oh, okay. So just a year later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting. But, I mean, no.
Hang on.
No. No, absolutely not. That was not 1995 that they dumped it in. They go into 1995.
No. They go back. You're right. They
go back to what year?
To 1969.
Okay, 1969.
Yeah.
1969 is where we're going from. They dump the game in the river in 1969.
Yes, it goes in the river in 1969. It washes up on a beach somewhere far away.
Yes.
In 1969.
Yes.
And then in the course of time,
yes,
it comes back and we pick it up back in Brantford 1 year after the previous movie ends because it flashes forward, right? And then
1 year after 1 year after the time jump of the movie, of the original movie.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So it's almost like it never left,
right?
Except it did.
So Dad brings this board game home. And knocks on the door of his teenage son and says, "Hey, I found this." Oh, we do see him maybe. Knocks on the door of his teenage son and says, "Hey, I found this game." And the son kind of like rouses from sleep, you know, like how all kids were in the 90s.
You know how kids are.
And then looks at the board game and goes like, "Board game? Lame-o."
Yeah, because we're in the age of video games.
And so he picks up his video game and starts playing it. Yeah, the game sees this.
The game knows. Jumanji knows.
Jumanji knows how to transform itself to the surroundings. So the next thing we see is that Jumanji goes through this little and now it's a video game.
It's a video game.
It's actually a cartridge.
Yeah, it's like a cartridge for...
It's like a 64 cartridge.
It's smaller than that. It looks like it looks like a game cartridge for like an Atari type thing. Like it's hard. I don't think I should...
But what I mean is it's a thing that you stick into a game
like you
console.
used to do with a Nintendo or a Sega or an Atari.
Yeah. And then green light flashes, and then we jump ahead.
I just want to say for this part of the movie, just super quickly, that the funniest part about this is the kid looks at it, he opens up the game, and he sees a board game. He sees the game, like the dangerous game that no one should play.
Right.
And he goes, "No, thank you," and he closes the box.
Sets it on a
and he goes back to playing, and the game like flashes an ominous green magical glow, and he looks at it like, what? And he walks back over and he opens it back up again, and now it's just an empty wooden box with a video game cartridge in it with the same name as the name of the game on the outside. And he goes, "Now I'll play."
Now this makes more sense. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
And so he stops what he's doing, he unplugs the game, he plugs it in the cartridge, and then we see another flash of light from the street. Mm-hmm. Flash forward again.
Flash forward, and now we're flashing forward too.
This is in the movie. I guess it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be. Let me get back to it.
26 years later.
2016. The movie was released in 2017.
You're looking at the wrong one. I'm looking at the wrong one.
The movie is. This is where it's weird because it says 21 years later. It's 2017, but in the movie they say, like later, here's mild spoiler alert. Like later on, they say it's been 20 years.
Right.
So I think in the movie it's supposed to be 2016 because it's supposed to be a 20-year gap.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to, because we're talking about 3 separate movies.
Yeah.
I don't want to go
super deep dive.
But we're jumping ahead. We've got some teenagers that all go to school together that are all very different. We've got the geek, we've got the jock, it's the breakfast club.
And literally because they all get detention.
They all get detention. They have to clean out the storage room, basement or whatever of their school. They find this old game console that the geek boy sets up, and they start playing it, and then they get sucked into the video game. When they get sucked into the video game, they turn into different characters.
Yeah. Because you choose your character.
You always, you choose your character. So, our main nerdy kid gets turned into Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Mm-hmm. So now he's like the muscly hero that leads everybody. Our jock gets turned, and he's a football player. He's very tall, and he gets turned into Kevin Hart, who is not tall or very big. And he is the sidekick of Dwayne's character.
So, Dwayne's character is Dr. Xander Smolder Bravestone.
Right. Bravestone, and then Moose.
It's Franklin Mouse Finbar, but they think it's Moose. Right. They misread it and think it says Moose, and he's like, oh, yeah, he's Moose because he's big, but it's Mouse because he's small.
Our main kind of quiet girl gets turned into Karen Gillian, who is Ruby Roundhouse, and she's like karate chopping, dance fighting, like barely wearing any clothes. Yeah. And she's like, why am I wearing this in the middle of the jungle?
Yeah, it's stereotypical funny. Female video game character.
Right. And then our super pretty, popular, blonde girl gets turned into Jack Black, which is the best.
Professor Sheldon Shelley Oberon.
Yes. And I have to say, every single one of them
are perfect.
They do so well. They go through the game. They're figuring out who they are in these characters. They're figuring out that some people can be smarter. Some people don't can even what I like about it is that popular girl, Bethany is her name, that gets turned into Jack Black, actually kind of takes on this, why are you judging me? Can't we all just be what we want to be?
Right.
Kind of things instead of the other way around. She's not judging anyone for the way they are. She just doesn't want to be judged herself on being like the pretty popular one.
Right.
That's just who she wants to be. So I thought that was an interesting take on that. So
yeah, for sure.
They go through the game and then they meet farther on in. They meet who the boy that was sucked into the game in 1995.
Yeah. 96.
And he has transformed into Nick Jonas, who is the pilot.
Jefferson Seaplane McDonough.
Yes, and he's a pilot. He's been there, and he doesn't realize he's been there for 20 years.
Right, because time is weird there.
Yeah, he thinks he's only been there for a much smaller amount of time. In this one, they also have lives.
Yeah.
And they have stats.
Yeah.
Which is really funny. And trying to think of something else.
So, it's a pretty straightforward event. Like, it's the thing that's fun about this movie is the character interactions. Right. More than the story, to be honest.
Right. There are holes in this story.
Yeah, there's lots of problems with that.
It
when
confusing.
You see the elephant begin to climb.
Yes, the clues that they get them to the next section of the game make no sense.
Yeah.
It's like the writers just went, okay, well, we're just going to scribble down some clues real quick and go. And they tell the actors to go, and the actors just react to each other. And that's what makes the movie. The story is...
It's all over the place.
Nothing.
But I will say there's a couple of cool things. One, I wanted to point out that the sort of villain character is played by Bobby Cannavale, who I think is one of those people who gets kind of shoehorned into... the thing I remember Bobby Cannavale from is he was always in a bunch of sitcom-y things in the 2000s. He was always, I feel like he was a guest on Everybody Loves Raymond and a bunch of shows like that because he's this sort of stereotypical Italian looking dude.
Yeah.
But he's first of all, he's really good in Ant-Man. He's the cop. Boyfriend of what's his name? Ant-Man's wife.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
Paul Rudd?
Paul Rudd, but I was trying to think of the character's name. It doesn't matter.
Oh.
But he's really good in this as the bad guy, Professor Van Pelt, who gains the ability to evilly control nature. So I want to say he's really cool. Also, Rhys Darby as Nigel Billingsley, who's the guy who is the NPC at the beginning of the game that's I'm the one who's here to tell you all about how the game works.
Yeah.
And so they're really good. But I wanted to say that also a cool thing about this, because it's easy to see this as just sort of a reboot of Jumanji, but there's actually this whole section when they meet up with Nick Jonas's character, where he's been living in this fort, and he's I don't know who Alan Parrish is, but I owe him a lot. And it's where Robin Williams' character stayed and survived in this world when he was here.
Right. So basically they all get sucked into the Jumanji world that Robin Williams' character was sucked into in the original one.
Right.
So and I'm sure there have probably been changes in the world, because Robin Williams' character is supposed to have lived in a jungle for 20 something years.
Right.
But the place where they find Nick Jonas's character is close to a town.
It is. But there's also, I was thinking about this. I think you're right. I
the
think
game could adapt, I guess.
Well, I think they did make a little bit of changes because it's near a lot of people, but there's also nothing in the original movie that tells us that he was like necessarily always alone. In fact, he recognized when the hunter like came around.
Right. But he talked about how he lived in the jungle.
Yeah.
And he didn't wear it. He came out not wearing any clothes. Mm-hmm. It was makeshift clothing that he had. So it seems like he wasn't around any sort of civilization.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the game definitely did have to change to become the video game, I suppose.
Right,
so,
right.
Anyway, because this is all real. It's our true story. So yeah, like we said, we don't have to go like into the full details. There's not a lot really to the story. They have to find a gem and put it back where it belongs.
And call out its name.
And call out the name
Jumanji.
of Jumanji. And it's mainly about, kind of unlike the first movie, this one's like all about like discovering who you really are inside.
Right.
And being okay with
the person you are in the real world.
Right. Or yes. Like
you
being
don't
okay
live
with
in,
all versions of you.
You don't live in fantasy world.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with the person you are in the real world.
Well, that's more the second one, really. The first one.
Well, see, the first
because
one,
in the first
he
one,
asks her not to. He asks her. He says, "Don't you want to just stay here and you be you and me be me?" And she says, "No, I want to be me and you."
No. In the first one, he says, I want to be
Like
these versions of ourselves. And she's saying, let's be like this there. She's saying, like, we've discovered who we really are inside in the game. So let's be like you be Bravestone in the real world.
Yeah.
I'll be Ruby Roundhouse in the real world. So so the first one's more about discovering who you are. The second sequel is where he goes over and he's like, I needed to be Bravestone. They're like, dude, you're not Bravestone. Like, you can't just be you're not Bravestone. So the second one is more about being okay with, it's about like separating fantasy from reality.
So at the end of this one, they all come out of it. Yeah. They all get back to it. And they've all found something in themselves. Like, pretty popular girl Bethany has decided to be more adventurous and do more things in nature. The Fridge, the big football player guy, has decided to be a better friend to his nerdy skinny white dude friend, who has decided to try to be braver in the world. He and cute girl or cute little nerdy girl kind of like hook up.
Martha is her name.
Martha. And then they find out, they're like, oh, well, I wonder what happened to Nick Jonas's, what's his name? Nick Jonas's character.
Seaplane McDonough.
No, the real name.
Alex Vreek.
Alex. So they end up going back toward where they know Alex used to live before he disappeared.
Right, because his family has become like recluses.
Yeah. And they walk up to the house, and actually the house is lit up for the holidays, and it's got like a lot of family at it, and they see this guy step out of this minivan with like kids and everything like that, and he sees them and walks towards them, and it's Hanks.
Yeah, it's Colin Hanks.
It's Colin Hanks, and the game spit him back into his time, and he grew up, and now he has a wife and a family, and one of his kids is named Bethany because Bethany she
saved his life in the game.
Yeah, saved his life and impacted him in the game, and it's really cute.
Yeah,
it's really very cute. And so they go about kind of like happy lives.
I do feel like that's a little bit of an oversight because in the course of the story, like Bethany as Jack Black,
yes,
develops a crush on Nick Jonas.
Right.
And you're kind of like, how's that going to work out? Is once you learn that like he's from the past.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know if they shoehorned that or if that was like.
I think it was perfect.
I mean, it's great. I love the way that they ended up doing it.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing where he's like, yeah, we named my daughter after the girl who saved my life. And they just like, oh, and that's
well,
kind
he
of
never showed any as much interest in
Yeah,
her as she
that's
did
true.
in him.
So anyway, that's Jumanji Into the Jungle.
Then we go into Jumanji, the next level.
And Jumanji, the next level.
Well, at the end, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
At the end, they smash the game console.
Yeah, they're like, no one should ever play this again.
They smash the game console. Okay, now we're going into the...
Yeah. So remember all the fun that you had in the first one, and then you're going to have more fun again, even more. And so add all the cool and funny character interactions that you had in the first one, and now we're going to add... Oops. Now we're going to add Danny DeVito.
Yes.
Awkwafina.
Yes.
Danny Glover.
Yes.
Who is... I'm missing someone.
That's everybody.
No, yeah, that's right. Because then they get all mixed up. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I was thinking of. Do you know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of the new version of Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's total change of the type of character he has to play in this is totally different. So
this again shows some acting chops to me.
Oh yeah.
This one, if you really like Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle and how these actors have to take on the personalities of someone else to play a different part, this one does that even more so. We go into this and we find out that what is his name? The main kid. The real...
Oh, his real name?
Spencer. Spencer, who is the main kind of like nerdy kid, has really kind of like backed himself away from the group. The group of the other people that went through Jumanji together have been texting, and they've all gone to like college or gone on trips or stuff like that. So they decided they want to meet up. Spencer is like he's not really replying. He doesn't feel good in his own skin. He's dissatisfied. He comes home and his grandfather is staying in his home, and that's Danny DeVito. And we come to find out Danny DeVito has a little bit of a beef with an old friend of his who is played by Danny Glover.
Right.
And Danny Glover comes and they're talking, and then the kids come over and are, we don't know where he is.
No.
The rest of the group comes over saying like, where's Spencer? We were going to meet up. He never came. And they go kind of like into the house and they're like looking around, and then they start hearing the drum beats. And they're like, no, how can this be? They go down into the basement and find that Spencer went back and got the smashed game console and has been putting it back together, but it's all glitchy and its wires are hooked up and it's not fully put back together. It's very like makeshift put back together. So they realize Spencer has gone back into the game. And who's gonna go in and save him? I guess they are. So
they're the only
like,
ones who know how to do it.
So they turn on the game console to go in and like choose their characters to go back into the game, but it never lets them choose their characters.
Yeah, it just sucks them in.
And you see the streams of light coming into the game, and some of the streams of light are coming from these people, and some are coming from upstairs, which you go like, oh, the game's sucking in more people than it should. And once it all is said and done, Bethany is still standing there.
Bethany didn't go in the game.
The popular blonde-headed girl. She never got sucked into the game, but Danny DeVito, Grandpa, and Danny DeVito's friend, Danny Glover, Miles and...
Danny DeVito is Milo. Or Danny Glover is Milo.
And Eddie.
Yeah.
Milo and Eddie get sucked into the game as well. So when they all land in the game, Ruby Roundhouse stands up. This is Karen Gillian's, and she's like, okay, I'm back to who I was. All right. The Rock stands up, and she goes, Spencer? And he goes, Spencer? What? Where's Spencer? And it's Danny DeVito's Danny, now the Rock.
The grandpa is the Rock.
Yes. The Rock is now emulating Danny DeVito. Kevin Hart stands up, and he is Eddie, who is Danny Glover. And this is the best part of the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Kevin Hart doing Danny Glover is so funny to me.
It's that slow talk, and it's through the whole thing. Like the joke through this whole movie
is that he's so slow talking.
Yeah, he's like, now there is an amazing thing. That is an ostrich. Now ostriches.
And then Fridge, the big football player guy, gets put into Jack Black's body, and we don't know where Bethany is because we know where Bethany is, but they don't know where Bethany is. It comes to find out they follow some clues. They figure out that Spencer should be following the clues as well, and it turns out Spencer came into Aquafina's body, who is a new character.
A new playable character in the Jumanji game, whose name in the game is Ming Fleetfoot.
And she's a thief. A thief, pickpocket. Thief. Not all thieves are pickpockets, and not all pickpockets are thieves.
All pickpockets are thieves.
Not all thieves are pickpockets.
Anyway.
So that's, it's the way the characters, it's the way the actors are their characters to me that is so funny in this movie. Again, the story isn't that great.
It's really not.
The clues are dumb. They don't make any sense. And they're just coming up with random, and then there are times that they end up finding this magic water that switches their bodies around, so that they do every now and again kind of switch around, and another actor has to play another character, and and that's kind of fun.
So eventually, in the real world, Bethany is like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, wait, there's one other person who knows about Jumanji. And she goes to Colin Hanks' character.
Yeah.
And they sort of get together. And I guess Colin Hanks is the implications that Colin Hanks also has some fixing video game experience because he was a video gamer in the 90s. A video gamer. That's the word I just said. And so later on they show up. Nick Jonas shows up in the game. And this beautiful black stallion shows up, and that is Bethany. And so by the end they find the magical switching water, and everyone's bodies get sorted
into the last movie's order.
So the original characters get in that we know from the first movie get into theirs. Danny DeVito goes into Aquafina. And Danny Glover goes into the horse.
Yes.
And so, and that's going to be their final sort of, they have to go raid the bad guy's castle, or I don't even remember how they have to do it. So they have to go get this another stone thing. Yeah. From
There's
the bad
always
guy.
some gem to get.
And so we discover, I'm going to, again, sort of spoiler for the end of it, but we find out that the reason that Danny Glover's character came back to sort of make up with Danny DeVito's character is they'd been friends for years and years, and Danny Glover went and stole Danny DeVito's girl, or asked out the girl that he was into.
I'm not sure that was it that. I thought he quit the restaurant to go hang out with his girl. To be married and stuff. He quit the restaurant is the thing. I don't think they had a love triangle thing. I think it was just that he stopped doing the business with him.
For some reason, I thought there was a love triangle thing too. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe it was just the business part. But anyway, he comes back to make amends with his friend because it turns out that he is he has terminal cancer, and he's trying to make up at the end of his life. Yeah. And so at the very end, when they're doing like the handshake with the NPC
to
guy
go back to the real world.
He chooses to like stay behind.
Yeah, because he's also a magical horse that can fly.
Yeah, it turns out that one of his abilities is be a Pegasus.
Yeah. The business thing that they were fighting over, by the way, was the restaurant.
Right.
And the restaurant was what the kids were eating at and at the beginning and everything like that. They end up at the end all going to the restaurant to meet up and say hey and hang out and stuff. And Danny DeVito also goes in, Milo also goes in. And it turns out that the owner of the restaurant that like bought them out or that took over their restaurant when their partnership dissolved is actually the aunt from the OG Jumanji. So the aunt
Kristen
that was
Dunst's aunt, who's like the one who is keeping the kids.
And it's the same actress.
Yeah, same actress.
Yeah, she I mean, so that house that she bought in the original, you know, I think she's going to make into like a bed and breakfast or something like that.
Yeah.
And you know, the house gets like completely destroyed. Or no because it all sucks in and goes back. It stays with the parishes.
It stays Robin Williams' house.
Right.
And he and Bonnie Hunt move in when they get married.
So I guess Miss Aunt, whoever she is.
Nora is her character's name.
Right, because the restaurant is called Nora's.
Right, but she was the one, so she was the one that like, this is why I was thinking it was like a triangle thing, because that's the restaurant.
Yeah.
But then it's like the wasn't like, we should have watched it again before I thought it was that Danny Glover.
No. Danny Glover got married to somebody else and just wanted to be married and like hang out with his wife and travel and stuff like that. And so stopped the restaurant and Nora took over the restaurant.
Okay. And changed it. Okay. Yes, I'm with you.
Okay. So anyway, loved that they brought her character back so that we could see where she ended up being in rewritten time.
Yeah. Still in Brantford, New Hampshire.
Right.
Somehow.
Right. The last we see of this movie is an ostrich running down the road.
Not just an ostrich.
A stampede.
Yeah, a stampede actually runs by the restaurant in like a post-credit scene.
Yeah. So maybe there's another one coming.
The implication is there's more Jumanji.
There's an implication is that Jumanji has now come into the real world, like it did in the very first.
Right.
Okay. How long have we run?
Oh, for a bit.
Okay.
We have enough time to talk about Zathura though.
Okay. Well, we didn't say what we were going to talk about.
Oh, the next one.
Yes.
Just so we know though, before we switch gears, because we'll do a break. Here in a second, because we're out of practice. This is the first time we've done this, so I forgot to have us take a break sooner.
I feel like we're talking like a lot.
We are kind of, but
podcast
we're doing fine. Before we take a break in Promoville, I did just want to point out that I just did a quick Google, and Jumanji, the final level, is coming out this year.
Oh yay! I'm excited. I hope it's good.
Good, right?
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break in Promoville, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about our mystery.
You already ruined it.
I did. We talked about it in the last episode too. Like we said we were going to talk about it this time.
You ruined it.
All right, Promoville. And we're back.
Have you ever thought about if Jumanji could be in space?
What if Jumanji was in space? We don't have to wonder.
Now, is this in Jumanji canon lore, or is this just a movie that somebody made that was like, let's do Jumanji, but like in space?
So we did talk a little bit about this last time.
Okay. I don't remember.
If I remember correctly, I'm going to look down here. I'm going to click on the thing that I think is true. Yeah, unless I'm mistaken, I can't find it here. But if I'm remembering right from the episode we recorded 2 months ago, these are Jumanji and Zathura are both books written by the same person.
Gotcha.
And so they're similar. They're similar in story, but that's why. And so they're not officially in the same canon. But I did want to point this. I did want to say this because I don't know if you saw this the other day. I meant to share it with you. I don't think I did. I came across there was a news article that came out a couple of, I guess maybe a week or so ago, a week or two. And it was all about, like, it was a spoof article about someone hunting down the creators of Jumanji, like as if Jumanji was a real game. Mm-hmm. And they like were going and finding those people and like suing them for damages.
Okay.
And so the idea was like they finally tracked down the creators of this magical game that's caused so much havoc in our world.
Yeah.
And so they talk about like all the incidents that have happened in all the movies. And then at the end, just kind of as a footnote, they're like, they're also being investigated in a similar story related to a game called Zathura from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And so, like, the idea is that they're all loosely related.
But nobody should know what happened because time rewrites itself.
Right, but...
So you wouldn't be able to prove anything in a court of law.
Not unless Alan Parrish was like, yeah, I recognize that game. Because he and Bonnie Hunt would recognize the game.
Yeah, but now they're just two crazy people that have had a perfect life together that say in a past life... Yeah, time has been rewritten.
But now there's 4 kids and an old man and a middle-aged man who also are all now talking about Jumanji, and there's a stampede of animals coming down the street. And so, like, say they're walking out, this is my headcanon now. They see the stampede go by and they walk out and they're like, oh man, it's just like in Jumanji. And you flash across the street and here's old man, whoever's being recast. I hope they don't recast Alan Parrish and we have to see someone other than Robin Williams. But, like, old man Robin Williams is across the street and goes, Jumanji? Like, because he recognizes
I haven't heard of that game in 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, Kirsten Dunst wouldn't, and Nora wouldn't, her and the aunt, they wouldn't know about Jumanji, but...
Kirsten Dunst does know.
No, she doesn't.
She remembered at the end of the movie.
No, she did not.
She did.
No.
She said, if you guys say anything about what happened, and you said she shouldn't be able to remember anything... Oh, Kirsten Dunst. I'm thinking Kristen Stewart.
Okay, let's talk about Zathura. Okay. I'm looking at you going, I did not say that. How would she so small at the end of that movie?
Okay. That was my bad. I was thinking of the wrong Kirsten.
Imagine Jumanji, but in space.
That's what I said already.
And instead of all of the characters we talked about, there's 2 young kids and Kristen Stewart and Dax Shepard.
Yeah. So we have 2 brothers that don't get along. And one of those brothers is baby Josh Hutchinson.
Yeah, little baby PETA.
Is it Hutchin or Hutcher? I always forget. Hutcher. Little baby Josh Hutcherson, who is, by the way, in all of his family movies, is a jerk.
Yeah.
He's always rude to his family.
Well, he has that face.
Oh my goodness. Josh Hutcherson also was in a movie with Robin Williams in RV.
Oh yeah. He was in RV, wasn't he?
6 Degrees of Jumanji.
You know who? Here's another important. Hey, if you play 6 Degrees, here's a very important one. Mm-hmm. The voice of the robot in Zathura that we meet is Frank Oz, the voice of Yoda. Mm-hmm. So now you have a very important connection between Robin Williams and the cast of Star Wars, yes. Which you don't get. That's not an easy connection to make. Yeah. Apparently, it is though. It's a very small cast. It's Josh Hutcherson. The younger brother is played by Jonah Bobo, who I don't know if he's been in other stuff. Dax Shepard is in there as the astronaut. Kristen Stewart is the older sister Lisa, and Tim Robbins plays the dad. Yep.
And then we got the robot.
2
brothers don't get along.
Oh.
Ugh. Man, it's all Danny's fault that mom and dad got divorced. And all Danny does.
I don't want to downplay like people who like, because that's the thing that people feel,
right?
Is like,
but that's like
also,
the theme of this movie.
It really is. It boils down 100% to that.
But then Danny is such a whiny little. He's so he
is annoying.
What's the boy? Walter.
Walter. First of all, also the older brother's name is Walter.
He like speaks with a baby voice the whole time. It's really annoying. So I liked this movie. Rewatching it again like last week, I was like, man, these kids are so annoying.
Yeah, it's it's weird watching it because it's definitely kiddier.
Yes.
Than Jumanji. It doesn't feel as dangerous as Jumanji, even though they're in space.
Right. Being hunted by
Zorgons.
meat-eating lizards.
Yeah, it still doesn't feel as dangerous as that freaking as like the vines in that house.
Yeah.
You remember how dangerous those vines were? But I will say that the twist is pretty good.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen Zathura and you think you're gonna see Zathura, there will be spoilers.
Hardcore spoilers.
I mean, we know. They find Zathura in the basement. Yeah. Also, who finds these games in their basements that nobody has played before? Like, that's just insane to me.
There was a moment, and I wish that it would be cool if there was a way that they could tie this. This was like a way that they could tie it into the real Jumanji-verse. Is at the beginning they're like, so the boys are with their dad, and they're like, why are you in this giant house? He goes, hey, this is a cool, very special house. He never goes into why it's a special house, and I wish that it was because it was like the old parish house or something.
But then why would Zathura be there?
Because of Jumanji magic. Jumagic.
Jumagic.
If you will.
It's the Jumagic.
But yeah, he says like it's a very there we go. It's a very special house, he says at the beginning, and it's special, I guess, because it's Zathura. It's spaceship Zathura. No.
So Danny just wants to play with Walter and whines about it constantly. So Danny ends up finding this game in the basement, brings it back up, and like, Walter, play with me. And he starts playing the game, and it's a space game that little rocket ships go down the, like how Jumanji was, where the character or the
you can't
game
move the pieces yourself. Yeah, they move themselves.
And it pops out a card, and the card is like the little game clue. Like Jumanji had the swirling green thing or something like that. This has little cards that pop out that then whatever it says happens. Suddenly they're in their house, and they are also in the middle of space in their house. Through it all, they come across this lone astronaut guy that's been floating in space for like, again, 20 years or 15 years. For some reason, it's always 15 or 20 years.
Yeah.
And he comes in and like eats a lot of their food and like helps them escape the lizards and everything. And this is Dax Shepard, who really in this particular movie isn't that funny.
No, he's
a pretty serious character, but he's like kid serious.
Yeah, like he's like a jokey, not full adult, but he's an adult. But like,
yeah,
he doesn't have funny jokes, but he's like a quippy character.
Yeah. Through all this, Lisa, who's played by Kristen Stewart, the boys at first were trying to tell her like what's going on, like this game, and she's like, leave me alone. She's like a really mean older sister. She's like, leave me alone. She goes in there, she ends up being frozen in like cryogenic
cryo sleep is what it says in the game.
So like she's like that for like half of the movie. Like they were like, we don't need an older sister in this movie. Right. We just need her to be up there.
They basically, this is again like other, like setting aside original Jumanji, and I know that we're thinking of these as related, but they're really not. Like this movie wasn't made in relationship with Jumanji. It's just that it's like a Jumanji for modern times. But whether you think of them that way or not, like set that aside, set the new ones aside, even too. Like we've talked about how there's not a lot of story to the newer ones. There's some story here. Like there's character development and there's a point to it. But they definitely, with Kristen Stewart, were like, we need like a teenage girl to like make the younger kids want to come see the movie or something. And then we need her to be like an interaction.
I didn't feel like she had much of a part in it.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, there was no point of her.
I think she was literally there as like, for better or worse, I think she was mainly there to be seen. And also to have like chemistry interactions with Dax Shepard before we find out the twist.
Yeah.
Even though like he doesn't have that with her, but she has a crush on him.
Yeah. So she gets unfrozen and realizes what's happening in the house and does nothing to help.
Unhelpful.
She's nothing.
To be fair,
she's a nothing character.
To be fair, she does not. She's not there when she's present when the game starts, but pretty much the first thing that happens is she gets frozen. So like. For her. So,
right, but even when she's unfrozen, she does nothing.
I know, but I'm just saying, imagine that you went to get a shower and then you came and then you're like, wait a second, why am I frozen? And you go to find out what's going on and your house is in space. You wouldn't know what to do either.
Are you standing up for the character Lisa
I'm
now?
not. I'm just saying, not overall. I'm just saying the initial reaction, I think, is pretty natural.
She does nothing.
She does nothing.
She does not. She has time enough to say how beautiful Dax Shepard's eyes are.
That's true.
So she has enough time to, put thoughts together.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it turns out in this game, a card pops up that says there's going to be a shooting star, and the player that got that card gets to make any wish they want.
Yeah.
We have for a minute think that older brother Walter, Josh Hutcherson, is going to wish away his brother, Danny, because he really dislikes his brother. He says, Danny, you're the reason Mom left, blah, blah, blah,
mm-hmm.
All this stuff.
And Dax even comes over to him and is like, don't do it. He's
don't do it. I know what you're thinking. Don't do it at all. So there's this fear. And
turns out he wished for a football.
Yeah. Stupid movie. It's a stupid
It's really
movie.
dumb. Even in the movie, though, they're like, you wished for a football? You could have wished for the game to be over. And he was like, I was under pressure.
Then what happens later towards the end of the movie is he gets another... So they come to appreciate each other more,
mm-hmm.
the two brothers. Josh trying to be a bigger, older brother to little brother and like protect him. And little brother is trying to, I guess, not be so whiny. I don't know. He never really gets there.
No.
But he gets another shooting star. Older
mm-hmm.
brother Walter does, played by Josh. That's why I called him Josh. And when he gets the shooting star,
he again doesn't wish the game over.
He doesn't wish the game over. He learned that Dax Shepard's character had lost his little brother to the game.
Yeah, he says, like, I was playing a game with my younger brother just like you guys, and I got a shooting star and I wished my brother away.
Yeah.
But that made it so he was locked in the game because it was his brother's turn, so he never got to finish.
So when Walter gets the shooting star, he wishes Dax Shepard's little brother would come back to him. And suddenly appeared is another Danny, another of the little brother. So now we're realizing this is another like alternate reality universe thing.
Mm-hmm.
Dax Shepard is actually the older version
mm-hmm.
of Josh Hutcherson character Walter.
Yeah, so the astronaut is old Walter.
Walter, who had gotten a shooting star and wished Danny away, and therefore got stuck in the game. And he lost his brother, and he had to get stuck in the game.
All right, we had to take a quick break from we're all sitting in the room here together. So we're back. So yeah, so Dax Shepard is Walter, and now that they know that duplicate Danny and astronaut Walter can resorb into the real version, they literally go over and like
they do like the twins on what's
Escape to Witch Mountain.
Escape to Witch Mountain. They like put their hands together and he goes, but then like old Walter dissolves and gets absorbed, like you said, into young Walter, and clone Danny gets absorbed into real Danny, and they're like, wow, like amazing, and then I guess.
And then they all live. And then they all live. No, that's not quite the end. They have to. There's like one more thing they have to do after that.
The black hole.
Yes, that's it.
They get sucked into the black hole.
They spin the last thing. They make it to Zathura, but it turns out Zathura is a black hole, and that's basically the end of Jumanji when everything gets sucked back into the game.
Yeah, and suddenly they're in their house. Everything's fine. And Dad comes back in, and
because he just had to run to the office for like 10 minutes, and he's
like,
back.
"Hey, did you guys have a nice time?" And they're like,
"You'll never believe all the things we saw." Blah 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 blah.
He's like, "Well, you guys have great imaginations." And then their mom comes to pick them up, and this is what I was talking about: is that then Kristen Stewart comes out of the house and tells the boys, "We're never to speak of this ever again," and they're like.
Okay.
But then Walter goes like, "You mean you're not going to tell me how beautiful my eyes are?" or something like that. Like, and that's the end of the movie.
And then the very last thing that happens on screen is one of the first things that happened, like when they first realized they were in space.
Yeah.
Is like one of the kids' bikes got knocked.
Yeah.
And you could see the bike like floating off into space. And then the very last thing that happens in the movie is the bike falls out of the sky into the yard.
Yeah.
As if to say like.
But
but they did come back. And then that's the end of the movie. This movie's directed by Jon Favreau. I just wanted to say that out loud. And like just a couple of years.
I just wanted to say that.
Just literally like a year before he started working on Iron Man.
Yeah.
He made Zathura.
Yeah, that's quite a leap there, isn't it?
There is an Iron Man in Zathura.
It's a robot.
Yeah. That's another way to say it. It's like a man made of iron.
No, it's a robot.
And he even flies. He has booster rockets, and he has like a little hole in his chest. I'm just saying. I think he's workshopping some Iron Man stuff.
Interesting.
He doesn't look anything like Iron Man. Yeah, but Jon Favreau made this movie, which great.
Good for him.
I like that guy.
I know you do. We all do.
Jon Favreau's great. He's revitalizing Star Wars as we speak.
Treasure. Did our recording stop?
No, it's just going really slow because we're zoomed out.
Oh.
See, we're still going.
Oh, okay. So that is all of the current installments of the Jumanji-verse, including Zathura.
Excluding the Nickelodeon cartoon.
I never saw that.
No.
So, we will come back at ya when we see whatever the 2022 version brings us.
The final level is, I think, what it was called when we looked at it a second ago.
Which, like I said, I went into the Dwayne Johnson Jumanjis with very low expectations and was very pleasantly surprised.
Oh, yeah.
Extremely.
It's been a great run.
Yeah. I really hope they can end it on a good level. Again, the stories don't make sense.
They're nothing.
They're not much of anything. But the acting and characters and all of that, it's worth it. It's fun.
Yeah.
And Zathura is fun to just kind of watch every now and again. Again, that kid is just so whiny.
It's much more of a kid movie than any of the other things we've talked about.
Yeah.
I do kind of hope that the new Jumanji like finds a way to somehow tie them together. I think that would be fun. I think that'd be fun.
It would be interesting.
To formalize that canon.
We'll see.
I think it'd be great.
We'll see.
This has been Not Suitable for Adults. We will hopefully be back to a more normal schedule. I joked about like thinking about this as like season 2 because like sometimes podcasts do seasons.
How does season last as long as
it doesn't? Well, it can be whenever you want. Is the thing. Like it can be that there's no rules for podcast. Well, then
I say this is season 16.
Well, there you go. This is episode 1 of season 16. Get caught up on all 15 seasons. But yeah, we just needed a break, guys.
Right. Well, like I said, it was one thing after another, after another, after another. And it wasn't just COVID either.
No.
Cora also got the flu at Christmas. Like, it was just...
It was a lot.
A lot.
A lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
But we'll try to be more normal. We've already got a couple of other things that we've watched recently that we're ready to talk about. So hopefully we should have some more content coming for you soon. Thank you, as always, to Shad Worrell for creating our theme music. You can check out his stuff at soundcloud.com/shad-worrell. And that's going to be the end of this one.
Cora,
Oh, hey.
do you want to say anything?
Do you want to say anything on the podcast? No?
Okay.
That's okay. She doesn't want to say anything.
Are you sure? Okay.
You don't have to say anything, Cora. Just don't forget. You're the boss.
So we usually watch whatever you want.
Oh. Okay, come say.
Okay, come here.
Say, you're the boss, so watch whatever you want. Okay, bye.
You're the boss, so watch whatever you want. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.